Beginning.
Okay, the time is now 7:12 p.m. I am calling the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. For any attendees who are there, my name is Fred Baptiste. I currently serve as the chair for Community Board 9, and this is our executive committee meeting for the month of December 2021. I want to wish everyone a very happy and healthy holiday season. I hope this finds you in good health and spirits. I thank you for taking the time to come and join us as we continue the business of serving our district. Just a couple of housekeeping items very quickly. So I would ask that we make sure we adhere to the rules of conduct. We're going to waive the reading of the rules of conduct for Community Board 9, but ultimately it's just that we want to make sure that this is a place that is conducive to conversations that are about uplifting the community. So with that being said, we ask that everyone be respectful in their speech, and also we respect everyone who is speaking as well. We ask that no one speak out of turn. Please wait to be recognized by the chair before you speak. We will give every opportunity we can at the appropriate times to make sure that the members, of the board are recognized, and the public as well during the public commentary period. Another housekeeping item, please remember, so on your phones, if you are using a phone, *6 will both mute and unmute your phone. We ask to please make sure that they're muted, if you're not speaking. And if you need to raise your hand and you are on a phone, you will use the *9 function, and that enables you to use the raise the hand. Okay, and at this time, we are now going to open the public commentary period, which is item 2 on our agenda. Dante, who do we have currently scheduled for, who is signed in, previously signed in?
The only person that I'm aware of who registered to speak was Maxine Barnes.
Okay, I'm going to create a speakers list, so Ms. Barnes will be speaking first. For those attendees who are present, if you wish to participate in public commentary, please use the raise hand function, and we will promote you to the panelists once we get to you in the list. All right, Amy, I do see your hand raised. Did you wish to speak during public commentary?
All right, give me 1 second. Yep,
I'm sure.
Promote. Should be coming in right now. Is she coming in?
Okay, well, I'll add Ms. Pinkerton to the list, and we'll call on her if she wishes to speak. Are there any attendees that you can see that have their hands raised, Dante?
There are no attendees with their hand raised. The only attendee, again, Maxine Barnes did register for the speaker and public comment.
Okay. And once again, so if you're on the phone line, if you wish to speak during public commentary, just use the *9 function or use the raise hand function in Zoom. At this time, please promote Ms. Barnes so we can give her 3 minutes.
I have been promoting Ms. Barnes, but it's not letting me, it's not coming through. So I'm going to try just to allow to talk. Oh, it looks like it worked. Okay, so Maxine should be coming in.
Okay.
I think it's only audio.
Ms. Barnes, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're in the public commentary. You have 3 minutes to address the executive board.
All right. She's a panelist now, so she should be fine.
Hi, guys. You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear Ms. Barnes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. Yes, I did sign in to speak, but actually I choose not to speak during the public session this evening. God willing, I want to speak during the general board meeting Thursday. So let the record show that I request to speak at the general board meeting. Don't want what happened last time where I was almost denied the right to speak happen on Thursday for the general board meeting. And again, thank you. And everybody, happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas. I believe Hanukkah is ending, but happy holidays to everyone. Thanks.
Apologies for that. I had trouble unmuting myself. Thank you very much, Ms. Barnes. Dante, if you could please just make sure that we add Ms. Barnes to the public commentary period for Thursday's meeting.
Yes.
Okay, I did see Ms. Pinkerton. Amy, I see
Yeah.
star 6 doesn't work. Can you try unmuting Ms. Pinkerton?
I'm trying. Miss Pinkerton's not muted right now. So.
Okay, Amy, you should be unmuted, or at least you're unmuted on our side. The other thing you might want to try, check to see if you have a mute button on your phone, because it might not be Zoom that's muted, it might be your phone itself.
There's also a hand raised in the attendees ending in 9998. Could that possibly be Miss Pinkerton? Give me 1 second. I actually look.
Yeah, 9998 is Ms. Pinkerton.
Okay, so let's.
If you can promote that number, maybe that helps.
All right, so.
Hi, can you hear me? All right,
Yes.
hi, it's me. Okay, so I honestly didn't have anything to say, but I just wanted to have the ability to ask a question, if so. And I just spent 10 minutes trying to figure out how to speak, because when I dialed in by the phone, I said I was a participant, I'll be muted throughout. So there's no chat. I can't speak to you to tell you that I can't speak. My phone wasn't muted, and I sent an email. The only way that worked is I renamed myself trying to send you a message. So I know I brought this up at the general meeting last month, way somehow to kind of have the audience reach you if they need to speak. I mean, this is normally, and I'm not talking about just the board members. I'm talking about maybe public area who would like to speak and they have this difficulty. So whether it's an email and Dante has to pay attention to emails, or Mia or Khalid, just something. I don't know what you want if you don't want chat, but I'm just suggesting that this is not working very well. And that's all. But happy holidays, everybody.
Okay, thank you for that. And Amy, perhaps it might be worth us having a conversation. I just want to see what it is, what the processes you're using in terms of logging in, if it's a matter of a bad link, if there's a setting or something else that we should be doing that perhaps we can advise and assist in making it easier for people to get on. But if we could, maybe we can have that conversation offline to kind of see if we can troubleshoot that a little bit. Okay, but thank you for letting us know.
All right, thanks.
Okay. All right, I did see one more hand up, I think. All right.
Both of those hands are for Amy Pinkerton.
Okay, all right, very well done. Okay, thank you very much. So that will conclude our public commentary period for this meeting. We are now going to move on to item 3, which is going to be committee chair check-ins. Yes, committee chair check-ins. Let's see, we're going to go in no particular order, but only because I see her, our second vice chair, Francisca. Do you have a report for Health and Social Services?
No, sir. Absolutely not. Good evening, everyone.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So we are going to continue. Warren, do you have a report for economic development?
I don't have a report. We did not meet this month, but two items. Number one is that we'll be starting our shop local for the spring in January, and we'll need all the help we can get. And number two, the farm stand by New York City Grows is operating. Uh, Friday is the last day. It's been extremely successful. And at 2:30, we're going to be having a little ceremony to thank the people from Grow New York City. So if anybody wants to join us, by all means, we'd appreciate any support. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frank.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I'm so sorry. I just hearing Warren's voice, it just triggers something that I just remember that for all the seniors, so anyone who knows of any seniors who need their smoke detectors updated, that they can contact the office so I can compile the names so I can contact the Red Cross so they can go to their home. And they also have devices for hearing impaired persons, so that there's a special device they could install for them as well to alert them of any fire or any smoke in the house. So anyone who knows of any persons who are seniors who are in need of smoke detectors, I can work with the fire, go through the FDNY and Red Cross to them. And they would last up to, the duration is up to 10 years before they can change them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so at this time, we've had two reports. Are there any questions for the Chair of Health and Social Services or for Economic Development? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on. I see Mr. Almanor, do you have a report for Parks, Recreation, and Cultural?
Yeah, you're still muted, Mr. Almanor.
And though usually I prefer that, for the purposes of this meeting, I guess we should unmute you.
I'm trying to unmute. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yes, report. Our committee met last week, and I'm just going over the minutes, and we did not have a quorum. So, but we did discuss the various points in the agenda. So the minute of that meeting has been emailed to the board office. We basically cover a presentation from the Black Institute about pesticide in the parks, and there was a workshop today for people to could attend to address that, and we had a report from what's happening at the Brooklyn Museum from one of our resident members and the Prospect Park Alliance. Most of that information will be in the minute that will be put on our website, and we are thinking about plans for the rest of the year. So that's basically what we cover. So more information will be in the published minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the Chair of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Next, I would like to call on the Chair of Youth Services, Primo.
All right. Apologies for camera off, not feeling 100% today, but happy to report on our meeting. We had a meeting first, I don't know, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Anyway, our committee is planning towards the Jobs Expo, which we're looking to host in March. We started off with looking for a space. So we reached out to a few different stakeholders, also with the support of Dante and the staff on the board. We got kind of affirmative responses from two places. One is Flatbush Beacon, which is a school down on Flatbush. And then the second was the Major R. Owens Community Center. Major R. Owens was going to give us a discounted rate of $150 per hour, which is not tremendously helpful because we don't have $450 to spend on that space. It was also going to be a vaccine requirement for all students, which actually in the end is going to be fine. But in order to save ourselves the hassle of fundraising, we are going to go with the Flatbush Beacon School. And so they've agreed to host us, and we are probably leaning in the direction of requiring vaccinations for all students and adults who are attending the jobs fair anyway, because you need vaccination in order to work in New York. So you might as well go ahead and have that vaccine if you're going to attend a job fair. And so we're just finalizing the dates with Flatbush Beacon. We reached out to a few of our vendors as well, who have said that they'd be, two of whom said that they'd be happy to attend, but we need to do kind of more concerted outreach once we have a date finalized. But anyway, that's kind of where we are in the process. You had a fairly good group join us, maybe about 9 folks. So all's moving slowly but surely in the direction of a jobs expo in March. And so we'll share that date out with the entire board once it is confirmed, but looking to ideally engage about 20 different vendors and a few hundred students. So that's the Youth Services Committee. Anybody have any questions?
Hi, Primo, it's Warren.
Hi, Warren.
How are you?
Doing all right, thanks.
Good. Did you get a response from Medgar Evers?
We did not get, I don't know that we reached out to Medgar Evers actually. So I know that we hosted it there a few years ago, but I believe that they also charged us. And I think where possible to avoid being charged and
I agree.
hosting
Okay.
it at a school, because we'll have access to the population of the school itself too. So yeah.
So Beacon is superior location for you versus Medgar Evers?
Yeah, I think Beacon is probably the winner for us because it's also a high school. So we'll get, promotion at the high school itself, and the folks who are there. So Jawara and Danique, who work at the school, are also kind of on and off the Youth Services Committee, and they'll help us reach out to a network of high schools. So there's a lot of benefit to hosting it at their school.
Excellent. I just wanted to check. Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Are there any other questions for the Youth Services Chair?
It's not a question. I just want to make a comment that with my office, we have a youth initiative leader who works with groups. I think I had mentioned it to you before, that he would really like to partner with you to talk to the youth about what their rights are on the streets. I mean, wherever that they go on the job, if they're doing any internship or whatever, and just to talk to them.
Is that the police representative from the NYPD?
No,
Oh.
Commission on Human Rights.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's definitely talk about that. Maybe they can set up a booth at the jobs fair. Then they'll get access to the most students there.
Right. So we could always side chat on that, and I'll give you his information, and then he can come in and do something.
Yeah.
He goes around to different schools and different organizations where they deal with youth, to do trainings and do workshops and stuff with them. So I think that he would be a good addition with you.
Yeah, love that idea. Thank you, Francisca.
All right, before we move on, so with respect to some of the venues, if you're good with the venue you have, that's fine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are supposed to, if there's other venues that you would prefer or that might work even better, let us know. Places that receive city funding, we're supposed to get, my understanding is we're supposed to get preferential treatment with respect to that. So if it's not free space, much better than I guess what we've been getting. So it may be worth actually revisiting some of these conversations, or perhaps getting some other people to intervene for us in that respect. For example, for the Armory, I think that we should be getting a better deal than that. And perhaps it's a matter of we work with the local council member or the incoming council member to see if we can get better deals than that. I think there are already a number of issues with the pricing over at the Armory. So perhaps this is the time where we should be discussing that and saying, you know, you need to do better with respect to the board and the programming we're doing.
Yeah, I think even if we don't decide to, thank you for raising that. I think even if we decide not to host it there, I think that's probably a conversation that we should have, because they turned off a lot of people by telling us $150 per hour. You know, everybody on the community, everybody on the youth services committee was pretty disgusted, frankly, with.
Yeah, and I agree. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. So we'll take that offline. Additionally, Dante, I do see 2 hands raised from the attendees. If you could promote Teresa Westerdahl and Maxine Barnes, we'll take 2 quick questions from them.
Hi, this is Teresa Westerdahl. I just wanted to chime in on I was too shocked at the $150 fee for the Armory, because, you know, we're looking for a place to have our environmental fair, and that would probably be in the spring and outdoors, but, you know, I'm really shocked at $150 as well. I thought is that the discount? What's the normal rate?
That's the discount. It's also $150 per hour, Teresa. So for us to run a 3-hour event would cost us $450. They're saying that the normal rate is $450 per hour.
Oh, that's really excessive. I thought that we would be able to use that for events for the community board at a reason. That's not reasonable, as we all know. So I'll be in to help, like try to get a reduction or, you know, whatever. I'm behind that. So hopefully something can change. I'll write to the council person, to Crystal Hudson, I suppose. Will that help? Just let me know how I can help.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're definitely going to initiate that conversation. But listen, I think the more people in the conversation, the more people supporting that, I think is the better as well. Because it's not just us. I think that there are a lot of issues with the pricing over at the Armory at this time. So we need to address that, especially with the incoming council member. Okay, but thank you for the comment. Ms. Barnes, I'm sorry, you had a question as well?
Yes, thank you. It was following what you guys have talked about. I thought it was 150 for the endurance, but $150 an hour is excessive. It's crazy. That's just indicative of what is going to happen at the alleged community center, which I still say is a private recreation center for the gentrifiers and the new transplant. It's just so discouraging and so disgusting, even to charge the community board $150 an hour. And Tara, I love what you say, and that the leadership should let the community as well as the board know how we can help and what is it that you would like us to do to support the efforts that event space would be free to the community board. Thank you, guys. Just crazy.
Okay, thank you very much for the comments, Ms. Barnes. Okay, we are going to, we're going to go down to looking. I don't see, I'm sorry, Christian.
Hello.
Christian, do you have a report for environmental protection?
Yes, I do. Just checking really fast. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, so the most significant thing that came out of our meeting last week is we passed a motion to hold an environmental and parks fair in the springtime. And in terms of next steps, Nicola and Teresa are getting together to start brainstorming on possible locations as well as a date. So I just want to flag that for the group. That's the most significant thing from our particular committee. I did then also want to just raise 2 things that might be of interest to our broader community as well as the committees. And that's that incoming council member Rita Joseph is having a virtual discussion Thursday at 5 o'clock in partnership with the Citizens Committee. And it's essentially about how we and our neighbors can apply for grants of up to $5,000 for various community projects. And I thought that could be of interest to all of us. And also in that same vein, incoming Councilmember Rito Joseph is doing participatory budgeting this year. And that's a longer process. I think that those projects won't be selected until the spring of 2022. But that's another opportunity for us to, at the committee level and perhaps even at the total board level, to propose certain projects that we'd like to see. So I want to flag that. And I did have one question in regards to the motion we passed last week with this fair. Do we now, I know eventually we'll fill out a budget request form and program form. Do we need to pass a motion at the executive committee level at some point saying that this is a CB9 event, or passing a motion at the parks or will passing a motion at the Parks and Environmental Protection Committee suffice? Thank you.
Sure. Actually, so now that so you're committed to doing that, what I would recommend is that you actually fill out that the budget form, because that's going to provide the executive committee and the board the information to understand the nature of the event, the commitment of resources, understand the logistics, so that way we can fully support it as a board. So, which is really kind of the perfect segue. So I was going to say for all committees, when you're planning these events, please make sure you're using those forms as the guide, in terms of it'll talk through some of the logistics, and it'll help put dollars to the initiatives as well. What's going to be very critical is that not all of it will be able to be funded from the board office. So the longer heads up time you give, it gives us an opportunity to have dialogue around what we can fund, what we can fundraise, or what resources might be available to support the event and make it successful. So I would think that would probably, I'll probably recommend that as the next step for you in parks, just to start putting those dollars to start creating the line items for that, and then we can address and see where we can go with that.
That's helpful. Thank you, Fred. That's all I got.
Absolutely. Okay. No, thank you all. Okay. I do see Mina. I see you on the line. Did you want to give any comments with respect to the nominations committee, or do you want to just defer until the general board?
Hi all. Just want to say that we have started eliciting responses from board members as to who would like to run for the position of secretary. We've received some responses, but the committee members are following up to see, are following up with board members who have not responded yet. And that's all we have for now. We should have responses done by tomorrow, I believe, or Thursday. That's all.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, and with that, and I apologize in advance because I do it all the time. Are there any chairs that I did not recognize yet? Apologies if I didn't see you.
Transportation is not.
Okay, looks like we got everybody this time. Okay, I want to thank all the chairs for the hard work. And I do want to also advise that obviously this is a very, very short month that we're working with because of, we had our meeting late last month with the holiday season. We've actually moved up the time frames for our executive and general board meetings. So there were a number of meetings that were not held this month. We fully expect that the committees will resume meeting next month as well, and we will be picking up from that point. Okay, and with that, we are now going to go to the district office admin check-in. Dante, do you have anything you wish to report?
Yes, good evening. For the administrative report, I will start with the board budget. Currently in OTPS, the board has $8,177.82 in our operating budget. Next on my report is the district service cabinet. We did meet, I guess it would be last Tuesday. Some of the updates from the district service cabinet. One, the cabinet will change just a little bit. I will be reaching out to the newly elected officials once their offices become operational to request a representative to participate in the district service cabinet. Another update from the crime stats Detective Barada provided. Some of the notes were to tell the public to take advantage of drop-off sites instead of ordering mail directly from home. If you've been paying attention to the news, there has been a significant increase in theft, especially among mailed packages. So take advantage if you are able to of drop-off sites. Also, he did provide that the Lefferts area has had some burglaries, mostly due to individuals climbing the fire escapes. So make sure that your windows are closed and secure. Also wanted to inform people, do not leave their car doors unlocked, especially at night or anytime, and do not leave valuable items visible in the vehicle. Another update from the District Service Cabinet is FDNY is changing their fire FMS stats system. So unfortunately, I was not able to get those fire and EMS stats at the previous district cabinet meeting, but those will be available to me at a later date. Oh my goodness, hold on one second. DOHMH reported that 70% of Brooklynites have received at least one dose of the vaccine. 64% of residents are fully vaccinated. Con Ed, until December 21st, Con Edison will not disrupt service for non-payment of bill. So if there's anyone out there who may have any questions regarding their Con Ed bill, direct them to call Con Ed at 1-800-752-6633. Again, 1-800-752-6633. Let's see, next on my report, there have been discussions with BRIC, Brooklyn's free speech television network. We're trying to figure out ways where we can air the monthly general board meetings on that specific network. So those discussions actually started today. They derived from the Borough Service Cabinet meeting that I was at this morning. And so those emails are starting to happen. And so once we get something ironed out, I will report back on where we're at with that endeavor. Also, the Civic Engagement Commission is looking for members to join the 2022 Language Access Advisory Committee. An email was sent out to board members on December 3rd. So if you're interested, or if you know of anyone who may be interested, please forward that email to those individuals. All contact information for that endeavor is the email itself. Let's see. Last, I think it was Thursday, December 9th, CB9 sponsored a virtual lien sale event in partnership with the New York City Department of Finance, which lasted about an hour. We're very pleased to note that there were around 20 participants who attended that virtual lien sale. After speaking with DOF, they had mentioned to me that some of the other virtual sales tend to have an attendance that's in the single digits. So I'm very pleased that we outperformed there. And so I want to thank everyone who shared that with their network. Let's see. We are in the final stages of creating our new website. Again, if there's any information that you feel may be relevant for public access, for quick public access at least, please don't hesitate to reach out to the board office and provide that information, preferably by the close of business day on Friday. Just because we have to filter the whole website, go through it, make sure all of the information is accurate. so on and so forth. So if you have any information you feel is relevant, please reach out to the board office no later than close of business Friday. The last thing I have to report is that in committee meetings and just through constituent inquiries, we have received, I would say, a number of inquiries pertaining to enforcement. And I'm trying to break down enforcement two ways: traffic enforcement, NYPD, and then also DS&Y enforcement. It has been brought to my attention at least multiple times that what we're seeing throughout the district is cars are parking, double parking, and that is preventing the street broom from actually sweeping those streets. And so those streets remain unswept for a significant period of time. And so then the other parking issue that we're also seeing is that people are not moving their cars for alternate side parking. And so those two issues are essentially leaving trash on the streets. I have started communication with NYPD traffic enforcement. We finally have a liaison there. So I've started those discussions along with DS&Y enforcement and the 71st precinct. We're going to try to see exactly, what we can do to hopefully mitigate the situation, see exactly what resources each agency is able to pour into our district to alleviate these issues. And so with that, that is the conclusion of my report.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Dante. Quick question with respect to the website. I know, would it be possible? So right now, is there a dev model of the proposed website?
No.
Okay.
No.
So the changes to the website.
So the way that so the way that it essentially is going to work is that people can still use our current website up until the new website is released, but we have to go through a specific portal to access the new website. That website won't be available to the public until it's officially released, because we have to verify that all of the information meets the web accessibility content demands.
Okay, I think that's the question. So there's a dev site. So it's not. So our website currently is the production.
Correct. Yes, there is a
dev site.
Correct.
Is it possible to be able to do a Zoom web demo of the dev site, just so we can get some feedback in terms of, before we go live with that, just so that way people have an opportunity to see it and offer any last suggestions before we flip the switch and it goes live?
I would have to take that up with Do It to see if that's possible. I will have to inquire about that.
Okay. Yeah, right. If you could look into that, that'd be helpful. Thank you very much. I do see two questions from the attendees. We'll take those two questions and then we're going to move on.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just promote. Give me one. So I think that it was Martina, Victoria, and Maxine were the ones that had their hand raised.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So Martina, Victoria. Yeah. So we'll recognize you first. You can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Good evening, everybody. I have a quick question for the chair of Parks and Rec. He mentioned this evening about looking into pesticides in the park, in Prospect Park. And I was just wondering what's going to transpire next in terms of what are you going to do about that? And I'm just curious.
Unfortunately, if we spoke earlier, there was a workshop today at 11 o'clock where they described the best way to naturally take care of the parks in there, which I attended this morning. I think what we can do as Parks and Recreation is to inquire about what kind of treatment that's going to happen in enabled parks and Prospect Park to the Prospect Park Alliance to see they are using the best practices
Yeah,
preserving the park and keep them naturally. We did have a presentation with the Black Institute, and they are the ones spearheading this particular effort. As a matter of fact, there's a law that's just been passed to make sure that our parks are being taken care of. And then if you need more information, you could reach out to me and I could get you in contact with the Black Institute, because this is an ongoing campaign in terms of make sure that the pesticides are not being used within our parks, because some of that workshop did show a lot of way to what's been happening in various cities within the nation to really keep the parks free from pesticides that are very poisonous to the people that attend the park, the children, and so on and so forth.
exactly. I just wanted to mention, and you probably already know this, that there's a recent law that was passed for all schools to get rid of pesticide and do all their landscaping naturally. And I'm just wondering if there's a way that you could maybe connect with some of the schools and learn what they're doing to successfully care for the plants without pesticide. And also the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, I don't think they use pesticides. So, yeah.
Well, I would invite you to attend our next meeting. We could look into this more in depth.
Yeah, absolutely.
What has happened, I'm trying to put a lot of emphasis. I mean, I have a lot of interest in looking at the neighborhood park, which is a lot of parks that join a lot of the schools. Some of them have little green spaces. My idea is to really to see if we could engage the school itself and the botanical garden to work with the school to get the students themselves to maintain those spaces. So therefore, you will meet the requirement for both teaching the students and meet the community. So, but we did have, I think our first meeting this year, somebody from the botanical garden and part of the education department was interested in joining together with us to do that kind of project. So because we still at the planning stage for a lot of those projects, I invite you for our next meeting in January so we can look into it further.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Barnes?
Yes,
You got a question?
hear me?
Yes. We can.
Yes, Dante, you mentioned that there was an increase in burglaries in the, what you described as the Lefferts community. Do you mean Lefferts Avenue? And if so, Lefferts Avenue between what and what, please?
Oh, sorry, I apologize. In the PLG area, Detective Barada didn't say specifically which streets, but if that's of interest, I have no problem reaching out to him to get specifics.
Yes, that's of interest. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for the report, Dante.
Thank you.
So we're now going to go into item 5, the chairman check-in. My report is going to be relatively brief, mainly because I think so much of the good work everyone else is doing is stealing my thunder. So, I guess it doesn't pay to go behind everyone else here. But very briefly, I did want to reiterate the farm stand and the partnership with Grow NYC has been phenomenal. This is something that cropped up out of the issue of the Associated closing, and we were able to actually bring them in as a partner along with some of the elected officials, and it's been fantastic. And I definitely would like to I definitely want to make sure that we're continuing to do that kind of work where we're addressing issues, bringing in partners, bringing in organizations that can help to make a difference. I think we went into this definitely understanding that this was not going to plug the hole that is missing from the Associated, but definitely this is a step towards helping to address that issue. And we are continuing to look at other things that we can do in terms of being able to provide services and access to food, produce, and other things that nature to the residents of the community, especially in the area near where the former Associated location was. Also, again, I want to thank the nomination committee. So we are joined this evening by Mina Lagut. I apologize for messing up the last name. So the nominations committee did meet last week. Mina is the chairperson of that nomination committee. So they have been doing some fantastic work, and we expect that we will actually have a nomination process that will continue at the December meeting and will culminate in an actual election that will come in January to fill the vacancy. With respect to that as well, one of the things that we will be looking at, we had hoped to get that done earlier, but we weren't able to, but we expect that by, we are going to be publishing a resolution for an amendment to our bylaws to allow for electronic meetings and for the electronic voting. This is consistent with past practice, where during the pandemic, as we've been meeting virtually, our bylaws do not speak to an electronic process for voting. So what we will be doing is having an amendment that will be publicized in accordance with the bylaws that will be voted on and discussed at the January meeting, which will allow for us to have that electronic voting process and make sure that we are within the constraints of our bylaws. So the text for that should have been passed out to the executive committee. It will be also distributed to the board for conversation, but the actual vote will not happen until the January meeting. So that the text for that will be coming out shortly. Additionally, we are still in the process of reviewing for committee chairs for two committees. So we expect to have decisions made on those by January. So the chairs should be installed, and we'll communicate that with the committees by January in time for the January meetings. Lastly, I think it's important that we discuss this with respect to the pandemic is still very much with us, even after all this time. We are still meeting virtually. We have been enabled to continue meeting virtually by on account of legislation that was passed in, I believe it was September actually. That legislation is scheduled to sunset January 15th. Given the news that we all hear, we understand that there are spikes in cases. We understand that the threat of Omicron is real. Its presence is here in the state, and it is increasing. We feel that it is prudent for us to continue to explore and advocate for the continuation of virtual meetings, at least for the time being, until we get to a place that's better, where we can meet safely, when we can meet safely. And and I think just ultimately it's not now. So there is language that will be proposed to the board. It will be considered at the next meeting, in which I would hope that the board would actually take a position with respect to virtual meetings and the extension of the legislation. And ultimately, actually, I believe the amending of the open meetings law to allow that option. I think that what the pandemic has done is shown that there are different ways for us to work effectively. I think that one of the things that we've seen, not just in CB9, but across the different Brooklyn community boards, is that attendance and participation has been enhanced by being able to meet virtually, in terms of you don't have to take buses, you don't have to worry about inclement weather. You can attend and participate from your own home or wherever place you have access. So this is something that we would like to make sure that at least there's a good discussion with respect to that. How do we add that as a tool in the arsenal in terms of being able to conduct public outreach? And that is all I have with respect to my chairman's report. I will entertain a couple of questions. I see Suki. Okay, that is all I see right now. So
That's all I
Suki,
see,
we'll take
correct.
your question. We'll close on it. I'm sorry?
That's all I see, correct.
Yeah, I
Okay,
just wanted
so
to
Suki-
follow up on a couple of issues I raised last time, since the Housing and ULURP committees didn't meet. The first issue is the new building that's going up at 1 Sullivan Place, where the tenants of the adjacent building had complained it was blocking the fire exit. And I think either Dante or Mia was going to follow up as to whether there had been any safety accommodations, because that building is continuing to go up and it looks like it's fully blocking two sides of that adjacent building.
That's
Okay,
for me.
Dante, do you have an update?
Yeah, that's no problem. No, yeah, I'm looking at my email now. I definitely sent an email regarding one Sullivan to the Department of Buildings.
Okay.
I will reach back out to them first thing tomorrow
Okay.
with an update for that.
And if there's anyone on this meeting who has contact with those tenants, they came to our ULERP meeting last year, but I don't have the person's name or contact information. If there's anyone who does and can reach back out to them. And then the second issue was with regards to the variance that was raised at the ULERP committee. I think you guys said that you were going to talk to the Board of Standard and Appeals to get more information on how they were approaching this issue, because it was a little bit unusual. It was an extremely old case.
Yeah, so I think there's some additional information we need to get. Dante, have you had any conversations, or is that still pending, or are we still waiting for a response?
Let me look. Give me just a second.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the issue? Question.
Remember the BSA? Remember the submission for BSA?
Correct. Yes.
On Troy and Carol, I think it was.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's Carol Gardens Realty or something like that. Carol. Yeah. They're the applicant. So they had extended. For the benefit of those who haven't heard this before, so there was a variance that was approved by BSA, I think almost 10 years ago. So the applicant hasn't developed the property yet. Apparently there were a number of issues with that. So what they did was they submitted an application to BSA to have their variance extended for 4 years. So they did come and they presented at the ULERP meeting last month. And we were going to seek some additional information with respect to the response that was expected for the board in terms of, you know, are we expected to approve this, review, or what kind of statement they were looking for the board for this?
Give me a second. Okay, can you hear me? If you want to, if you want to move on, I will let you know when I get it. I'm looking through my emails.
Okay.
So
well, listen, Dante, I mean, rather than do this at the exec, I mean, we can make this an agenda item for the, you know, we can have this put back on the agenda for ULERP. So at that time, they can discuss whatever needs to be discussed with that.
Okay, I mean, the only reason I'm raising it now is because my understanding is that there are normally time limits, but if the BSA is kind of not moving ahead, then maybe it doesn't matter. And just the final thing I wanted to note is that it's the season for fires in apartment buildings. We've had at least a couple of serious fires in my neighborhood where people were forced to leave their apartments. So, you know, I guess I was kind of hoping that fire safety might be something that could be addressed.
No, absolutely. That's a point very well taken, actually. You're right. I mean, this is typically the season where, you know, people put up the trees and, you know, bad electrical wiring or whatever have you, or if people don't have heat, they're using space heaters or you know, any number of things. It's a tough season, and you're right. And it's one of the worst things where you see fires where families are made homeless, you know, entire buildings of people are made homeless at that time. So absolutely, we should be, you know, watching each other and reminding each other to make sure that we're playing, you know, we're doing it safe and we're being safe for the people and everything else as well. So Dante, and as a matter of fact, I'll probably even ask, because I know that Fran, I think you had made the point with respect to fire smoke detectors. If there's anything we can get or any literature we can get from FDNY with respect to that we might be able to share to the community.
Okay, and that's one of the main reasons, because a lot of the homes they don't have the smoke detectors, and some
Right.
persons they do have them, but they are outdated. The batteries run out, so they cannot really give any signal when it comes to smoking. Yeah, so I have been thinking, I'm happy to hear Sophie bring that up because it's something that I was thinking of on my way to work with the apartment buildings, when it comes to the smoke detectors that we really need to get in there and have dialogue with, I was thinking as to how we can get in there, um, because some of the apartment buildings, some of the persons they have, I'm not able to have dialogue with them because English is not the first language, so ready to tell them what exactly we need to do, I can't really communicate with them. But it is something that we have to really take on seriously because I was really thinking about it today, and then Suki just brought that up, so it's something that we need to do. I did have word with one of the gentlemen from fire, and then he from FDNY. And before I know, Red Cross did come to the board. I worked with them, and I took them down on Lefres, and they gave a few homes the smoke detectors. But now the FDNY told me that now they are working very closely with the Red Cross. So I can get some information and pass it over.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So, Second
Fred,
Vice Chair Leopold, so
Fred,
perhaps what might be, yes, can you hear me?
Fred, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I found the for Suki's response. I have it. So my request to the BSA was, does this process require a formal recommendation or like type of letter of support from the board? And their response was, the applicant is requesting an extension of time to complete this project. There is no notice requirements for this type of application.
Okay. All right. So when we say there's no notice requirement, let's follow up on that because I'm not sure what that means in terms of a notice requirement. Because specifically, I would like to know what's the expectation from the board in terms of, is there a response? Are we supposed to chime in? Are we supposed to have a recommendation? Or if this is just more for informational purposes, as this is already a decided deal. But let's follow up on that, and we'll make sure that we address that at the ULURP meeting as well.
All right, no problem.
Okay, but thank you for that, though. Okay, all right. Okay, so we're now going to, hold on, I do see one hand. All right, Ms. Barnes, I will take your question, and then we need to move on.
All right, give me 1 second. All right, should be on. Yes.
Is muted.
Yes, Ms. Barnes, you're muted.
Okay, thank you. Fred, will you petition the Governor Hochul, to extend her executive order on virtual meetings? Is that what you meant by amending the laws?
Well, there's two things that we'll probably be exploring. One would be the extension of the current, the legislation that was passed. This legislation is a number to it. That's something I can't remember what it is offhand. But the idea would be that that legislation gets extended, at least for some time, especially in light of the spike in terms of infections and hospitalizations. But then ultimately, I think there needs to be a serious look at the open meetings law with respect to what options are available in terms of public participation. I think that, to the point I made earlier was that, I think that a number of boards have reported that, yes, it's possible to work virtually. And there may be instances where it's probably better to work virtually as opposed to having everyone come in, especially like if you look at the winter months between it's darker earlier, transportation issues, inclement weather, especially given, the pandemic. I'm not sure that if we want to look at every winter, people who have colds and everything are in small spaces confined. doing that. So there may be instances where, yes, boards should have an opportunity or at least an option in terms of virtual meetings as well. Not a specific recommendation, but I think that's something that should be looked at with in terms of the open meetings law and making sure it's updated to reflect the realities of the 21st century.
Should be looked at by whom?
The state legislature.
Okay, because I thought it was an executive order that extended.
No, that's a law. That's a law that was passed. So it's
Okay.
passed by the legislature and signed off on by the governor.
Okay, so you want to add to that an amendment to the open meetings law, that legislation?
Well, two pieces. One, do the extension because we need that because as of January 15th, we have to go back in person. Second piece of that is look at the OML to see where it makes sense to make updates. So that way you can incorporate things like electronic meetings as appropriate.
Okay. Could you add, and I appreciate if the person, I don't know the board member that put the motion on the floor to stop this webinar, but the community certainly would like to add an end to the webinar and our regular Zoom meetings. Just saying, for the record.
Noted. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Westerdahl, I'll allow a quick question. It has to be quick because we need to move on. And then we are not recognizing one after that. Ms. Westerdahl?
I need to make a comment after her, please.
Okay, fine. I'm sorry, Dante, can you promote Ms. Westerdahl?
Yeah, it should be coming in right now.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Ms. Westerdahl, you're muted.
Hi, I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Happy holidays, everyone. I just wonder, you're changing the bylaws to what? Will we see that before there's a vote? Can the community weigh in
Yes.
on that? To have,
Yeah,
to continue the webinar format?
It is going to be posted. So our bylaws require that any amendments to the bylaws be posted to the board members at least 10 days prior in advance. So that will be posted. It will be made available to the board members and we'll make sure it's available on the website as well. As it'll be discussed at the January meeting, that can be discussed as part of public commentary.
Okay. One other thing is we've had quite a problem in our area with somebody going around for an electric, clean green energy electric company that's been quite aggressive, knocking on doors, and people are talking about that in our neighborhood and at our neighborhood meeting. So I'd like that addressed as to what's a scam and what's not and what they're allowed to do, if NYPD would interfere, or how we should deal with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to respond, but what I would probably advise is check in with Dante, give him the specifics of what the issues are, and he'll be able to bring in whatever agencies we need to bring in with respect to that. If it's NYPD, Brooklyn DA, so it could be a number of people, but we probably need some more information with respect to that.
Yeah, it's a one guy going door to door, like knocking and.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying, I understand that, but my apologies, but we do need to move the agenda. So rather than discuss it here, Dante can get that information. The district office can probably take up, start that conversation, and then we can bring in whatever we need to after that. Okay. All right. But thank you for bringing that up, and make sure you touch base with Dante. He'll be able to address that. He'll be able to start the ball rolling with that. Okay. Thank you very much. We are now going to go into item 6, the agenda for the board meeting this Thursday. So the proposed agenda, the agenda I proposed. Public session. Rules of conduct. Dante, do we have any presentations scheduled for the general board?
The general board? No.
Okay. Do we have any SLA applications?
One, I believe.
Okay. We're going to put a placeholder for one SLA application. Okay. After that, we are going to go into public commentary. We're going to have acknowledgements. Then we are going to go into the business session. We're going to have roll call. We're going to have approval of minutes. I'm sorry, approval of minutes. We are going to have committee reports. Again, I advise all committee chairs to please make sure you have submitted your committee reports to the board office. Actually, they're past due. They're past due. We need to make sure that all those reports are into the board office so they can distribute those. Make sure they're distributed to the members so they can review prior to the meetings. Make sure that they are posted as well. So if you have not done so, please make sure you do so as quickly as possible. Committee reports will be only for a very brief moment if chairs have time-sensitive, urgent things that they need for the community to know at that time. So comments are going to be, reports will be limited to 1 minute or less. But otherwise, again, please make sure your committee reports are in. After that, we are going to have the district manager's report. Then we are going to have the chairman's report. Sub items on the chairman's report. One, amendment to bylaws, which we will discuss. Copies will be posted. But again, the vote will not happen until January. Two, a resolution on extending virtual meetings. Pardon me 1 second while I check notes. Yes. Then after that, we are going to have the voting session. Then we will have old business. We will have new business. And we will call for adjournment after that. Are there any questions or modifications anyone wishes to propose to for the agenda? Okay, Amy, I see your hand up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I noticed that you noted the vote you want to take on the amendment to change the bylaws, but under either district manager report or old business, can we itemize the things that are carried over from the previous months? We don't do that regularly, but it just would help in discussions to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks. Like some of the items that Suki brought up, maybe some of the items that were brought up on this meeting. I don't know what carryover items were mentioned in the November meeting, but we usually always have some. And I just feel like it's, again, more user-friendly to the general public when we say what we're going to be discussing, especially if it's unresolved the month before.
Right. I would probably say that that's more in terms of the tick list that the district manager needs to keep. As his report is more operational, it's not necessarily board votes or board matters for that consideration. It probably makes sense under the, the committee reports, or it makes sense under my report in terms of if there's carryover items to make sure we're itemizing those, particularly if there's going to be votes or conversations on those. But Dante, otherwise, I would just, I think, he's been making the effort for that as well. He's been very good with that in terms of just trying to make sure
Dante
we're carrying
puts
those.
them on his DM report, and that's distributed before the meeting. It's fine. I just don't know if they are. So.
No, typically his reports are just for informational purposes. They're not distributed.
So basically, there can't be any sort of itemization about carryover items that are on discussions that haven't been completed during previous general board meetings?
I'm not sure if it's something we put in the agenda for that. Particularly because, I think this is,
Apparently there's no interest, so it's okay, but it's on the record, there's no interest. That's all. All right, thanks.
Okay.
Hey, this is
All right.
Warren.
Are there any other items?
Fred,
Yes, I'm sorry.
Warren. I just want to point out to Amy that there is a lot of.
Warren, I think Warren is saying something.
Lauren, your
Yes.
volume, we can barely hear you.
Yeah, we could barely hear you.
Warren, now we can't hear you at all. Okay. While we try and get Warren back, I will call again for the board, for the exec. Are there any other items that need to be added to the agenda that we've just outlined?
Okay, Fred, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. I was listening to Amy, and I think some of her statements are unfair. In terms of who no one cares, there's about 40 members of this board who cares, as well as the executive committee. And number two, I think that Dante has done a great job of following up open items, okay, in his report. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, unless we see any other items, okay, at this time I'm only entertaining items for the agenda. Only items for the agenda. If there's anything else that needs to be added this is for executive committee members. Are there any other items that need to be added?
Not from me, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all right. And just for the record, just to note for attendance. So for executive committee members, we have the first vice chair, Warren Burke.
Here.
We have the second vice chair, Francisco Leopold.
Here.
I see the treasurer, Dexter Roberts. I see member at large, Nicholas Alanor, and I thought I saw Ms. Williams. I don't see her.
And Miss Williams is there as well.
Attendee, send the attendee.
Present, sir.
Oh, okay. And I
Present.
see the two members at large. Okay, so we do have a quorum. All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as stated.
So moved.
Second.
I haven't moved. Oh. Okay, let me get I had it moved by Dexter Roberts. I had a second by Nicholas Almanor. All right. Are there any final questions? Okay.
Not for
Seeing
the
none.
agenda.
Yeah, for the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing none, we're going to call for the vote. All those members of the executive committee in favor of the agenda as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any members in opposition? Please say your name. I see no members in opposition. Are there any members who wish to abstain? Please say your name. I hear no abstentions. The agenda is adopted unanimously by the executive committee. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we're going to go to item number 7 on the agenda. Is there any other business for the executive committee at this time?
Mr. Chair, I noticed that the transportation chair is not here. And I know I'll have to most likely attend the transportation meeting for next month, but I just want to bring this to your attention or to the executive attention that persons in the community have been concerned, and up to Sunday, they were talking about it because for the past few years, Sullivan and there are certain few of the streets in Brooklyn who have put in application for speed bumps, and for whatever reasons, those speed bumps has not been installed. But then I think that community members now, they're thinking, well, things are hard, and DOT, they're just going into the community, putting up cameras, on the streets, on the private streets. And residents, you're just getting up and you're just looking up on the poles, and they're just saying that there is a street camera. And these are the same streets that applications, and I'm going to put in for my street, for my block, because I mean, we have speed bumps from Nostrand to Rogers and Rogers to Bedford. And over 3 years, almost 4 years, the application for Bedford to Washington, it have been with them, and we heard that it was approved, then it was not approved, and then it was approved. But instead of making it work, installing the speed bumps, they put up the cameras, and there are other places, there streets in Brooklyn that they're doing the same thing. So it's like community members, they're concerned. It's like, hey, the city is just out there to make money on persons and don't care about the person's safety, because if they're asking for speed bumps, they go to different neighborhoods putting up the speed bumps, but in our community, they are not putting up the speed bumps. They had all those excuses, and now they just put up a camera. And it is something that I'm very upset about it, and it is something that needs to be addressed with them.
Now, with respect to that, and I'll definitely give it over to Dante momentarily. So I had a conversation with the transportation chair, and she has actually had a conversation with the district manager. So what we have started is we've actually requested a status update on all the speed bump applications that have been submitted from CV9. So the district manager has already put in a FOIA request for that information. So we expect to get the status on that. And pending the information we get back, the expectation is that we will be following up as a board with DOT and with our elected officials as well in terms of making sure that these things are moved forward. Understanding that the speed bump process is not a fast process to begin with, but I think that the process is also kind of designed to make you lose interest or hope or hope at the same time by making this so long and dragged out. But that process has started, so there was a request that was submitted by the district manager. Dante, if there's any additional information you wish to add?
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up, Fran. Just to note that the FOIA request was submitted to the Department of Transportation, more specifically requesting all speed bump, and speed hump request in Community District 9 since 2010. Also in that request was any information as it pertains to the criteria by which these requests are evaluated. It is to my understanding that the criteria on how they evaluate speed hump requests changed, I think in maybe like 2013, 2015. And so a FOIA request has been sent. It may be an extensive request, so it might take some time, but I do think that the FOIA request itself shows that this board is taking note that these projects continue to go unanswered. So once I receive any information back as it pertains to the FOIA request, then I'll be able to report accordingly. But I just wanted to let you know exactly what the request entailed.
Thank you, because I think that if a block has speed bumps, they don't need to put up a camera,
Right.
you know, and it's ridiculous to see right on my block. There's a camera at the end of my block, and I mean it's over 4 years since the application went in. And then every year they will come in to install, and then 1 year they said, okay, it was not approved, and then it was approved. And the last time the transportation chair said that they told her that it was approved, you know, and it was supposed to be installed this year. It was not installed, and then this year they came out here and they put in camera and other areas in Brooklyn, and it's really unfair.
Right. And the reason for my request was I had heard I'm pretty sure it was a DOT representative mentioned that, you know, these speed bump the speed cameras, they have to be in a certain proximity to a school. So, you know, not every street has a school on it. So that's something that needs to go into the discussion.
Exactly. We have no schools out here on my
Right.
block, none close at all.
And it's probably worth the conversation just to make sure this is something comprehensive. So you know what, if we're trying to do traffic calming, and to use their term, there are some places where, yeah, maybe the speed camera makes sense. Near the schools, yeah, it makes sense. But you know what, that doesn't mean that we don't have little drag strips on some of these other streets. And that needs to be addressed. If we're going to talk about traffic calming, it's not just on Eastern Parkway when you feel like it, because you have a whole lot of money you want to dump on a project. We should be looking at it on a district basis in terms of making sure it addresses all the traffic issues all around to increase safety.
No, we
but I
asked,
guess,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, but we asked when I had meeting with 71st Precinct, and over been asking is over 3 years, I've been asking for cameras on right here on Eastern Park, Empire, and right Rogers, and those two sections, they need cameras out there. They didn't put any cameras out there, but they came on our block with a camera.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
and some of that are political, and that's where it's like, you know, we're really gonna have to make sure that we develop very strong relationships with our local electeds. Speed cameras, things of those natures, tend to be things that come from council requests. Either the council member makes the request, or the council member funds them directly, or they apply the pressure that's needed. So definitely, that's one of the things we have to look forward to. We're gonna have a new set of elected council members. And we're already starting the process of having those conversations and letting them know these are the issues that our residents have in this district. Between funding and budgeting to the everyday, we need speed bumps, stop signs, cameras, what have you. But those are definitely the things that we're making note of. Okay. All right. Okay. So at this time, I just want to thank everyone because again, this is a holiday season. We moved our schedules around, so I thank everyone for making the accommodation, for showing, for participating, and for continuing to do the great work that you do. Our board has come a long way, a very long way, and I'm very thankful to all the commitment and the work that the committee members and the committee chairs and the executive committee puts in. I just want to wish everyone a very happy holiday season, a safe holiday season. Please take care of yourselves, wash your hands, wear your masks, and get vaccinated. And to all the residents who joined us this evening as well, it is always a pleasure to have you here to work with us as we try to do the work to make our district the best it can be. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Francisco Leopold, seconded by, is that Nicholas? Was that you? Oh, no,
Ms.
by Ms.
Williams.
Williams.
Ms.
My
Williams.
apologies.
Miss Williams.
Yes, I got you, Ms. Williams. With a second. Okay, I got you. All right, all those members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I hear a majority. The ayes have it. We stand adjourned. The time is now 8:35 p.m. Everyone, thank you. Take care. Have a great evening.
Oh my God, this is a miracle.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Good night. Happy holidays.
Happy
Well, we'll
holidays.
be saying soon before Christmas anyway.
Yeah, we'll be seeing on Thursday. So remember, Thursday,
Yeah.
I wish all these smiling faces again.